Hello! So I thought I'd do this live stream a little bit differently, and I've moved the chair, so I wondered if that would keep me in frame for a bit more of a live stream, you know, stop me slouching. And I've also put this body armour on because a few people were asking about this the other day, so I got it out of the cupboard before the stream and put it on. Now I might have to just turn the mic a bit. Let me know if that's a bit better volume wise, because the mic's omnidirectional. So this is the old British Army flak jacket. I think it's called a British Mark I fragmentation vest. Yeah, I put that on for this stream. Evening, Richard. Now, I don't know if it's actually showing in there. It should show in the description below, but have a look. There's the first of the merch stuff is down there. I'll have to use that finger, because otherwise it's going to be off frame. But basically, what I've done is, let me just turn this a little bit more. Is my friend's taken a load of photos to do some designs, so all of his stuff isn't up there yet, but I thought Lee Enfield's there. What I thought I'd do is just put my channel logo on a couple of things just to get the merch store set up, and I wanted to see if it integrates with YouTube properly. I'll be streaming for at least an hour, maybe a bit more. If you mean a British Mark 7 helmet, they're normally £50 to £100. And also, this came a day early, so I've got this on. Which is the Orient watch I was waiting for. Probably can't see it all that well on the webcam, but... really, they should be using something a bit more thorough than a dust mask, I would say, for working somewhere like Chernobyl, but it doesn't need to be that thorough, because it only needs to be particulate filters, if that makes sense. Now, as you might have just seen on my watch, it's 9 o'clock. So, 9 PM. While opening them, you'd literally rip the packaging off and take the plugs out. No, Foxy Boy, it says that in the YouTube FAQ. Right, cool. Right, Mike, you should notice now there's a Teespring link down below. I don't know how that will appear in the things, but hopefully I've done the integration thing. None of my friends' designs are ready yet, but I thought I'd just do my channel logo as a thing. No, I don't have any cats or dogs personally, but I volunteer with an animal charity, and I'll show you a picture when I was at my friend's house today. All his dogs are jumping on me because I help him walk his dogs. So yeah, that's what ends up happening with me and animals. If I get it to go like that. Don't know how well the screen will show up on the... that doesn't look too bad on the webcam. But yeah, that's generally what happens when you know, animals tend to like me, so there you go. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you would have missed the start bit, Mike, but I was saying that I'm going to stand up for this one, because that way I shouldn't slouch out the frame so much. I know the watermark's cutting into my head a bit there. If I stand that way, is that going to deal with it? Yeah, there we go. So I thought I'd try standing up for a stream for a bit, and then I can sit down on the bed behind me and just adjust the webcam. Yep, this one, the old flak vests. I have no idea how many weapons I have altogether. No, it's a real SLR, but it's deactivated. There's no point trying acidic version. Acids are much dodgier to get hold of anyway. So I'll just do it with the alkali tests. pH 14 and pH 1 are just as destructive if you've got well, notice up there it says no politics, but I already said Article 13 is a bad thing on all the other streams. There isn't a watermark on this video. There's only a disclaimer, and there's no point making that semi-see-through, because then it would be in the way, and it's not blocking anything. There's nothing on that section of the wall above that crossbow that's visible. Anyway, it's just a plain bit of wall. But what I'll need to find out with the merch links is if it does the proper integration thing. It said it could take a couple of days to do that though. But, you know, like you were saying, Mike, about Malk's videos and some of the other people's ones where it actually shows Teespring right underneath the video. Now, as I was saying last stream, the only army vest I've got this one, but I have a modern police Kevlar vest, or, you know, like the generation of police Kevlar vest they used a couple of years ago. I don't have a modern plate carrier or anything like that. For all the people talking about politics. Yeah, have you got it working alright now, Richard? I did see you replied to my comment earlier. No, we were on about medic gear last stream, but sadly I've not seen any med kits or anything like that that aren't like just, you know, empty things. I've got first aid kits, but, you know, no military style med kits. Yeah, there's something in this pocket of the vest, let me see what it is. Ah, it's a crossbow sight, I think. Is that from one of the pistol crossbows? I assume it was from one of the pistol crossbows. Yeah. Looks like a pistol crossbow front sight. At some point I'll do more videos about lighters when I get new ones to talk about. Oh, thank you very much, Mighty T. I do appreciate that. Did you have any specific questions you wanted to ask, seeing as you gave a donation? It's probably one where I took it off the crossbow and I had the vest on or whatever at the time, so I just put it in the vest pocket and then totally forgot it was in there. I don't think there's anything else in any of these pockets. Alright, cheers. Thank you, Mighty T. Well, as I was saying earlier in the thing, I have a Teespring account now, and there's going to be much better merch turning up on it soon than what's currently on it. Because one of my friends is going to be doing a lot of artwork, because he does, like, you know, art properly. He's got an actual art qualification and all that sort of stuff. But at the moment he's a bit busy to start with it properly, because he's doing like a kid's book or something he's having to do all the pictures for. But once that's out the way with, he's going to start doing a lot of merch designs. So when he starts doing that, they'll be appearing on my Teespring account. But from all the modern videos, I might go and put the link in on some of my more popular older videos. There's going to be you know, links to the merchandise, so that way you get something out of it. And I've tried to set the prices quite low, so I'm not making a very big profit margin on anything. But that way, at least, you know, the prices are acceptable. Whereas, you know, like when I was looking on some people's things, they're charging like £20 for a t-shirt, which means they're probably making £12 profit or something on some of the t-shirts. You know, so on mine, I think I've put a lot of the t-shirts for things like 12 or 13. I think the t-shirts might have been £15, because that gives me something like 5 or 6. I think it gives me £5 something profit. But with some of the things, you know, I've set it so I'm only getting like £1 profit, just so the prices are more acceptable to people who might want to buy them. Yeah. Yeah, I saw Mike's thing and I commented on it. It was very good. Yeah, I think that looks really good. Looks like it's quite a simple thing to have done as well. Yeah, I've played the first 2 Metro games. I'm not a massive fan of them, but I don't think they're bad games. I'm just not my cup of tea, really. Well, those are deactivated, so I can't use them. Well, my logic is, you know, I think people are going to be a bit ripped off if they're going to want to buy. So let me put the webcam down a bit and then see if you can see me if I sit in frame. I won't hit that with my arm, but that's going to be cutting my head off a bit, isn't it? If I sit further back, is that going to be more noticeable? Hang on. Let me shove that. Because I can still just about read the chat from here. Yeah, exactly, because I think by making a couple of pounds profit, at least I'm making a profit and it encourages people to buy it. You have to let me know how the microphone is though, because if it's a bit too quiet I'll have to sit closer to the camera again. Yeah, but I need the right model bayonets for the guns, and I don't actually have... For any of the deactivated guns I don't have the right model bayonets to fit them. Have you just heard what we were saying in the stream? We were just literally talking about merch just now. Look in the description, there's a merch link now. Well, people don't have an address to send me stuff, so they're not going to get an address. I'm not going to do fan unboxing because they've not got a thing. Yeah, exactly, because the thing is, I was looking at it, Mike, and I was thinking what was the most I'd ever pay for a t-shirt that I really wanted, you know, and stuff like that, you know, so most of my profit margins aren't very high at all, but it's sensible. Like I said, I was looking at other YouTube channels that had merch and then just doing less than theirs, and some of the other ones, I don't want to sound like a dickhead, but I think some other YouTube channels I've looked at, some of their merch looks so crap in a sense. Like I'm saying, I know I can't talk yet because I've only got one design of thing so far, until my friend gets a lot of his pictures done. But you know what some people were charging for what you were getting like, you know, a tiny bit of text and a tiny picture in the middle of a little t-shirt for like, you know, 20 to 30 pounds. I don't know actually, to be honest, mate, because I've not bought anything from it yet. I'm going to wait till my friend draws some of his other designs up, and then I'm going to order like the poster when he gets that done. And I'm going to probably order a mug with a gas mask he draws on actually as a picture. An AK, because a minigun would be very heavy to carry. Mike in the chat, Weapon Collector, might be able to tell you a bit more about some of the merch options. Well, I'll look into that at some point, but as I said, when I've got more designs, I can then, you know, start putting them on more things. Yeah, exactly, Mike, that's the thing, that some of them are really expensive, aren't they? I'll stand up again, put the webcam in a sensible position if I need to. Yeah, that'll be alright. I just need to remember not to go too much to that side so I don't cut my head off. Yeah, it's not going to fall on my head. It's got a sling on it and it's secured to the wall properly. It's not going to fall. And that's behind me at the moment anyway. He took a load of pictures of my S10 with the red outserts on for doing drawings from. Do you mean much point or much chance? Yeah, I've been to Scotland, it's alright. Been to most of the UK, and yeah, it's alright, sums up the UK pretty much. Scotland's a very nice looking place though. Oh yeah, you'd struggle to get through the collar of this, to be honest, if you were swinging something into it. Because it's got the panels to protect your neck from shrapnel. Well, these vests have to be bigger than your vital organs, otherwise they wouldn't work. Because it still doesn't cover all of my stomach, which won't be on the webcam, but... no, I don't have any of the older DPM stuff. I've only got Soldier 95 DPM. Probably neither, but as I said, I'm not doing military service, I don't think it matters. Well, that's the point of a bayonet. Most bayonets are like big knives or like short swords, basically. Depends on the model of bayonet, because some only have sharp points and they're not designed to be sharp on the sides. Others are designed to be sharp on the sides. Yeah, that's pretty similar with this one, I think. Yeah, if I stand on the bed, you'll actually be able to see. Hang on. Careful not to bang my head on the ceiling. But you'll be able to see there, like where my vest goes is a lot lower than. So even if I pull this to where my belt is. So the vest isn't too big at all. Tell you what I'm going to do on the stream, actually. I'm going to move the disclaimer to the bottom on this one. Might make it slightly smaller. So hopefully it's still readable. But, well, it's at least on there. It's just that way I don't have to worry about it cutting the side of my head off. Because the most comfortable place is for me to stand here, because then I'm sort of directly in front of the webcam and the mic's sort of pointing in the right direction. I'm in front of the keyboard as well. Right, good. Yeah, it probably depends if you got the video full screen or the size of your monitor or whatever else. Yeah, D&B Militaria. Yeah, British World War I. Enfield bayonets are basically mini swords as well. Sadly, they're very expensive, because that's the model that fits on my Lee Enfield. Because I've got a Lee Enfield like number 4 bayonet, which is basically called a pig sticker. It's just like a spike, but that won't fit on that model, as the bayonet lugs are different. Let's see if there's a date on it. Hang on. It'll be some point in the 70s or 80s, I imagine. Uh, 1979 pattern is the name of the actual armour. But I don't know which of these is the actual production year for the vest panels itself, and I'm not going to take all the panels out to see what year the panels are from. Ah, that's good to know, Mike. That's cool. What type of flak tarn? German flak tarn, or like modern one, old one, 44 dot style flak tarn, or that sort of thing. Right, night if you're going off. As far as I'm aware, the law's 18 to own an air gun, but you can shoot it younger than that with supervision, I think. I've got an M81, like, well, an M65 jacket and M81, but it's not an official US one, it's like a reproduction one. Just give me a second, Mike. Israeli mask, as I've said before when I've been asked, because it's a more modern mask. and it takes NATO and GOST filters without you having to do anything. Well, both of them protect your eyes and lungs, which is the main thing a mask's designed to do. GP5 is still not going to protect the back of your head, because the mask won't cover that bit anyway. A bit of both, but mostly eBay. Charlie. Sadly though, the surplus store that's near me is closed now. So the only place I can really buy it is from eBay, to be honest. I mean, there's other websites that are surplus websites, but generally they don't work out any better or cheaper than eBay. I'd say probably a British C7 mask Terminator. I've got videos on those if you want to watch them. That's what you use an NBC suit for. The vast majority of masks don't cover your ears for that reason, because you wear an NBC suit hood over it if you're actually going to need to protect your ears. Like I just said, eBay. Just search for names of masks on eBay and loads will come up. A 3M mask with the correct type of filters on it, yes. Because 3M masks, the ones that aren't like the dust masks, the ones that actually take filters, essentially are the same things as a gas mask or respirator. Resistant is the word that's like the correct term, because it depends on what the caliber is, you know, the foot-pounds of energy of the cartridge. So for example, lots of Kevlar vests can protect you from pistol rounds, but they won't protect you from rifle rounds. It doesn't bother me too much, because sometimes there are different things for milsurp. Like with gas masks, it's generally always eBay, yeah. And I think it says that in the description anyway. Yeah, I'm a Mark III. I've actually got two Mark III NBC suits. And I've also got a Mark IV NBC suit, which is Mark IV NBC suit, which is the one that goes along with the S10. Don't really have an opinion on the police uniforms because I've got no interest in getting them. The only police stuff I'm interested in is like the ballistic helmets and the body armour. It totally depends. In the UK at least, there's not that much surplus on Amazon. It turns up now and again, but for whatever reason, eBay. There are a lot more surplus sellers on eBay than there are Amazon. D&B Militaria, which sells deactivated guns in the UK, but there's quite a few places you can get stuff like that. I've not got attacked with anybody with a gun. I've been attacked by people with knives before. And that wasn't like seriously attacked, it was like, you know, druggies trying to mug me. I don't know because I'm not in the US, so I can't answer questions about America. Well, yeah, it doesn't really matter though, because the thing is, don't buy it. There's lots of people who list things with fake descriptions, fake names, or don't know the value of anything. There's so many people who sell GP5s for ridiculous amounts of money, saying rare World War 1 or World War 2 masks. The point is, don't buy it. Yeah, thank you. Yep, don't forget to like the stream, everybody, as Mike just said. Well, when I used to work in the city centre, you'd get lots of like drug addicts and like homeless people that would, you know, try and basically just attack people or like steal money from people at bus stops and things like that. Avon CT12, CT12. There should be a couple of other nations though that in Europe. The Dutch use the FM12, and a couple of, I think Norway does as well. So you might be able to get them, see if like it's cheaper, for example, from the Dutch eBay, because that you're pretty close to Holland if you're in Germany. D&B Militaria. If you search that, you should find it. I've just noticed the Bakelite or whatever kind of plastic rubberized pad thing they have on here for the rifle rest is actually falling apart a bit. Don't know if you can see that on the webcam, but you actually might be able to see where it's crumbling there. Don't want to keep rubbing it because it's coming off on my fingers, but so one of those quite distracting things. You notice it's sort of got a thing in it, you touch it and then yeah, you can't see it on the webcam quality, but I'll stop touching that bit now. This is an old British flak jacket. Hang on, let me read what that other comment said. Aren't you cooking off with the flak jacket? Well, at the moment it's not massively warm in my room. It's 23 degrees saying that. I know it's not massively warm. That's Celsius, by the way, not Fahrenheit. But because I've only just got like a vest on underneath it, I'm, you know, got no other equipment. I'm not carrying a helmet, rifle, or, you know, all the pouches and everything like that. And I'm not having to walk around. Just standing around isn't too bad in it. NBC gear is far worse than something like this for cooking you if it's cold. You know, not cold, but you know, trapping heat. Yeah, I'm standing up. I'm sort of leaning slightly over rather than standing up straight, because if I stood up straight I'd be a bit taller, but there you go. But so I'm in frame properly, I'm sort of slouching backwards. Yeah, I thought I'd try a stream standing up so I'm in frame a bit more and I can, you know, move about a bit better. This flak jacket doesn't take plates. The second model of this did. It had like a trauma plate bit in the very middle of it. But this generation didn't take plates, it's just a ballistic nylon insert. Well, flak, it's a German word for like shrapnel anti-air weapons. So when flak jackets were first invented, I think they were for World War II sort of European airmen, or like, you know, Allied airmen or whatever. So they called them flak jackets because the idea was it would protect you from shrapnel from the flak guns going into the plane. So it's like a shrapnel vest. Then, around the time of Vietnam, the US started issuing these to infantry, and they wouldn't do much to protect you from bullets other than pistol bullets. But they did protect you, know, from grenade, shrapnel and stuff, just like the helmet protected the people's heads. The jackets protected their, you know, heart and lungs and everything like that. You'll probably be able to see from the side how this works, is it's basically a front and back layer that you tie together with these kind of like shoelaces. So they slightly cover each bit. It's like almost two separate vests, this vest. But yeah, and then over time it evolved into Kevlar body armour and, you know, plate carriers. But the idea of flak jackets, they're shrapnel protective vests. But the thing is, a vest like this, that modern police vest I've got, is far lighter and thinner, but it actually offers better protection because this is outdated technology. It's ballistic nylon inside, not Kevlar. But DuPont invented both ballistic nylon and Kevlar, and it's just like Kevlar's, you know, a more advanced version. You can have it way less and be thinner, but still offer a better level of protection. And I imagine something will replace Kevlar that's, you know, exactly the same. It's lighter than Kevlar, thinner than Kevlar, and probably stronger. Yeah, it'd be a bit awkward, wouldn't it, walking on the spot like that at a treadmill. Suppose I could have an exercise bike in here and then be doing that on the thing as I was asked about Demolition Ranch in the last stream. I liked some of his older videos, but his newer ones I've not had much interest in. Because the older videos were a lot more straight to the point, you know, where he'd get a gun and he'd try and shoot something and see if he could shoot through it or whatever. Where the newer ones seem to be a lot more like, I don't know, like TV-y? I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, I know for FPS Russia, but he's not actually a Russian, is he? With body armour, as I've said before, Slingshot Warrior, the ones I like are the ex-police vests, because they're the ones that are based like pistol protection and stab protection, because it's both a stab proof and a bullet resistant vest in one. What do I think what's necessary for modern militaries? Flak vests or whatever. I think like more lightweight modular kind of vests are very useful for militaries, obviously because it gives the soldiers a much better survival chance. You know, helmets and vests. No, I think it might say that in the FAQ, and I don't have any plans to get one either. Because as the laws stand at the moment, as much as there's nothing exempting me from owning one, I just don't particularly have any need for one, so I wouldn't want to be paying licence fees and having to keep showing the police around every now and then. Yeah, I wear surplus in public all the time. I don't wear full camo gear as a getter or anything like that, and I certainly don't do any stolen valor bullshit impersonating soldiers, but I quite often have you know, faded combat trousers on because they're so comfortable and they've got so many pockets, rather surplus military coat on in the winter to keep warm, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's very cool. See, that's where I'm jealous of you living in a country with more freedoms than us, being able to own actual fireable surplus like that. I think there's a compromise with it, because the issue is if you're in a very hot country, I think there's, you know, a problem with the vests in the sense that, you know, they might impede the soldiers more than stuff like that. I assume the South African soldiers still wear helmets, don't they? I only ever had to wear stab-proof vests when I used to work in the city, just, you know, due to crime sort of fears. Where I work now, I definitely don't need a stab-proof vest, so I only ever wear my stab vest sometimes if I need it to demonstrate it for a video, or if sometimes I'm like shooting one of the pistol crossbows so I can cock it against the vest. You can do the same thing with this flak jacket. Because this obviously gives you like a bit of physical protection, you can chest cock crossbows more easily. I like the look of a lot of Chilean military stuff. I know a lot of it, like you said, is sort of German, sort of surplus type stuff, or intercontinental ballistic missiles. Wow, I know. You know, they raised the tension quite a lot in the Cold War. I assume there is some tungsten stuff. I know there was like tungsten anti-tank shells, but they use mostly depleted uranium now. But I'm assuming like tungsten and titanium have been trialled in a lot of things. It's probably just a weight and size thing for the most part. Yeah, that's what I like with some of these vests, and especially your one in bright blue, Richard. What I'd quite like is somebody to make maybe a high-vis vest. I know high-vis vests exist, but you know what I mean, like, because I see a lot of people that wear high-vis jackets a lot, and nobody, you know, looks at them at all. They just think, oh, it's like somebody who works in a factory or on, you know, a place where there's vehicles moving around or whatever. So I wonder if you could actually get a body armour vest, but that was in a high-vis pattern, if people wouldn't even realise it's body armour because you've got the high-vis pattern on it. I think that might be an interesting thing. Like, despite the fact it's more obvious, it makes you less obvious kind of thing. My police body armour is, yeah. And they do even more concealable versions. I assume they probably use Flectarn or something. I've got night vision Slingshot Warrior. I've done videos with it. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Sorry, Will, I missed your comment there. I've done several videos with it, Slingshot Warrior. For me, it's worth it, but a lot of people are moaning like, oh, the video is low resolution. Well, yeah, because it's night vision. No, I don't have a Leatherman. As I said in the last stream, I've got a Gamzo. Yeah, I don't have any military style night vision goggles. Just simply due to the fact that I don't think I've barely ever seen the surplus ones, and I think when they do turn up as surplus, they're very expensive. The katanas from Blades and Bows, which have a closing down sale at the moment, so if you're in the UK and want a cheap katana, like a good katana, but they're being sold off cheaply, get one from there. No, the only shield I've got is my riot shield that's just out of frame. I remembered to fill this canteen today before doing the video. I had a coffee just before the start of the video, although it's decaf, but I put quite a lot of decaf powder in there, so it's probably still got a fair bit of caffeine in. And then filled up the water bottle just because I thought that way, if I'm talking for quite a bit, you know, I'm not going to get so dry a throat. Yeah, I definitely reckon you're right, Rich, because we have those at work. Like, you know, we have both the thin and the heavy ones that you're meant to put on if you're going to the goods in sort of bit to go to all the rubbish bins, just because somebody could be reversing a lorry there or using a forklift or whatever. And yeah, the thin ones are the ones I normally put on because they're very fast to, you know, put on and take off, because they're literally just like very thin plasticky stuff, aren't they, with like Velcro on. But I reckon you're right. If you got one of them big enough, you could just literally put that over a Kevlar vest and nobody be any the wiser. You're probably being able to smell the talc or something like that. Weird rubber smells is pretty common with old gas masks. Yeah, it's because sadly they're having to close down, because where our like knife laws are changing, or they think they might be changing, it's not viable for them to run a business anymore. I know the ones you mean, but there's no point me getting those because I can show it you. See, this is my night vision device. I've not got the batteries in it because it drains the batteries if you leave them in, but so it's one where you look through that and it's a monocular, and that's the IR filter, so you take the IR filter off and then it's got the IR thrower there because it's like a Gen 0 night vision. But this is the exact same technology that's in the like old Soviet style night vision, except for this is obviously a lot lighter, uses less battery power. This can film because it has a card in it. I think I've got the card in it at the moment. Let me just double check. Yeah, I have. Seeing that, there's a micro SD. So what it does is you film onto the micro SD if you want to film footage or take photos, and then you can, you know, film night vision footage. Well, this is a very cheap unit. This is like £100, you know, starter unit if you're interested in it, but I just got one. You can mount it to a camera tripod as well, which I'd recommend, because the only problem with this is because it's a monocular, the footage tends to be quite shaky, because obviously if you're using it where it's zoomed in, it's magnified and you're filming, especially in low light conditions, the footage doesn't look all that great. So yeah, if you wanted to use one of these and make decent looking video with it, you might want to go for a better model, or you might want to, you know, take it out on a tripod so it's got the least amount of vibration possible in the footage. But yeah, for £100 you can get a Gen 0 night vision now, but I wouldn't probably bother buying a what was I going to say? Wasn't going to bother buying a light amplification military style one, unless one turns up really cheap. What I would do is FLIR cameras are getting cheaper now. If you don't know what FLIR is, it's forward looking infrared. Now that's like what people think of as thermal night vision. You know, the night vision where just close that drawer back up. You know, the night vision where you actually see the heat signatures, so if somebody's hidden behind a bush you can actually see them glowing. With FLIRs, or FLIRs, however you pronounce it, they're getting cheaper now, to the point where I'm starting to see second-hand ones in good condition at like £300. You know, like obviously the very good models are still a lot more than that, but it's getting to the point where you can also get FLIR attachments for mobile phones, so your mobile phone camera can take FLIR pictures. So it is getting to the stage where I think give it another couple of years and you might be able to buy affordable FLIR cameras as well. Are you on about the Cuban Missile Crisis? No, I don't have a sword, peasant. Closest thing I have to those is open house. I've got the locking collar on. Hang on. There we go. That's like a peasant sort of knife. But I do like open house because they're very cheap and they're good knives for the price. What do you mean thing for aquatic abilities, Slingshot Warrior? You have to explain the point a bit more. Yeah, but that would be a very good FLIR. But yeah, like I said, if you go on eBay and Amazon at the moment, it's only the cheapest models, generally second hand, you see for like $300, £300 sort of price. Most of the good models are several grand. And again, it depends. I've got rebreathers, not that I'd really want to risk using them underwater, but in theory I could use a rebreather and like survive 30 minutes underwater if nothing went wrong. Of course, if it went wrong I'd explode, or mount my lungs with poison gas. But in theory, yeah, my rebreather would let me walk on the bottom of the canal or whatever for a bit. No, I'm not in Whitney. It is, yeah. I think I did a video where I was saying, you know, katanas were overrated. About what was I going to say? Yeah, in the katana versus saber video, that basically that's the problem. Is a katana to me seems very similar to a saber. But most European and US style sabers have much better reach, you know, and handguards and everything else. Yeah, it's actually me in the YouTube. My YouTube profile picture is actually me. Hence why I put on the merchandise. I haven't plagiarised somebody else's picture. Yeah, the good thing of a rebreather as well, they wouldn't see you breathing under the water. There wouldn't be bubbles coming up. Because, you know, if you're underwater and have a rebreather on, the air you exhale goes back into the rebreather unit. I think that was one of the traditional uses of rebreather as well, that you could have divers, you know, planting mines on ships and they couldn't be seen because obviously there wasn't bubbles coming up or anything like that. I think I posted the specs on it on a different video, but I'm not going to measure it now. But I'm pretty sure it's long enough that it would be considered a katana, not a wajizaki, or however it's pronounced. Because it's pretty much the same length. I remember on this page where they were listed as every other katana I could see. You know, they all had like all had lengths within an inch or two of each other. Yeah, I'm live streaming more because it seems the more I live stream, the more YouTube promotes me, and I actually quite enjoy live streams when we have a decent conversation like the one tonight, and most of the topics getting brought up are quite interesting. I have some Chinese gas masks, but I don't have any Chinese weapons, no. It's an SLR, but the SLR is a FAL, so there you go. Yeah, that's the thing with FLIRs, isn't it? Is that you can see through smoke and stuff like that, obviously, like you said. Because I know, like, smoke shells apparently don't protect tanks from FLIR cameras, which is why they put FLIR cameras in lots of tanks now. Because if an enemy vehicle deploys smoke grenades, you can see through it using the FLIR. Because obviously, the heat of the smoke is different than the things behind the smoke. Well, I mean, yeah, the SLR is a British FAL, and it's semi-auto only, but it's still a FAL. Because it's not that different from a FAL. Yeah, what Richard just said, about £70 or up, maybe a bit cheaper if you spot one on offer. Yeah, I'd sort of agree with that, Mike. It's, yeah, when you get a good conversation going in a live stream, it makes the time go quite quickly and you really enjoy doing it, don't you? But sometimes when you keep getting like the really weird or people on, or trolls or whatever, that keep asking the same questions, you know, where it gets boring. Lee Enfield, you might be able to tell because I've got one on my wall as well. Yeah, my granddad was in World War II, and at least 2 of his brothers were in World War II as well. He was Royal Artillery though. But if space and money wasn't an option, I'd have a Mouse there, a Mosin Nagant, you know, the Garand, I'd have them all on there. I can't even remember what happened at the start of Mike's last stream. No, I don't have a Kar 98K. The only bolt action rifle I've got is that Lee Enfield up there. So you can actually see the bolt there, maybe. The camera quality and lighting's probably not good enough that you can make out the bolt in a lot of detail, but it is up there. Well, I wouldn't make uniforms, because I'm not very good at sewing and stuff like that, unless you mean would you put stuff together to make uniforms. But I'd only ever want to put stuff together like that to make like NBC kind of uniforms from the time. As I've said quite a few times, I do a kitchen porter type job, which is basically just lots of washing up and like mopping and stuff like that. What I'd suggest you do, Hyper Gaming, is you should look up on my channel Soviet gas masks, and you'd find lots and lots and lots and lots and lots. Yeah, I think Mike's Warhammer's great. I commented on the video. If you lot haven't seen that yet, look at Weapon Collector's channel and look at the Warhammer conversion he did from like a tool. Well, there's lots of different ones to choose from. Well, my favourite Soviet mask is the SHMS, or SHMS, however it's pronounced, which is the optical Soviet mask. It's got a voice diaphragm on the front, and it's got the flat eyepieces, so you can use it with scopes. It's the one, if you've ever played Half-Life 2, that the Metro cops wear, or they wear like a PMG SHMS sort of hybrid thing, but it's very definitely Combine style looking mask. Somewhere very rural, like if we talk about a completely ideal sort of thing, an old-fashioned looking house, I should think, but you know, not actually old-fashioned in terms of it requires loads of maintenance and it's got, you know, really bad designs. You know, I'd rather have something modern in terms of like heating efficiency and all that sort of stuff, but old-fashioned looking at least. Somewhere rural enough that it has a lot of land with it, so you know, you don't have anybody nosing on what you're doing any of the time, or you know, where you could actually use firearms on your own land legally. That would be ideal. But you know, like I said, there's a very big difference between a fantasy house or dream house and you know, reality of it. I've got Fallout 4, but I hadn't planned on streaming it at all on YouTube. I did hear that they'd done a rocket engine version, but I imagine that would be pretty prone to ripping its wings off, wouldn't it, and not being very good for landing. No, I've only got an M1 carbine, and I've got an airsoft M4 carbine. I don't have an M2 or an M3 carbine. Well, the one I have is a Rep Pro anyway, and as I've said before, I wouldn't get any real World War I masks unless I saw one really, really cheap or something, just because a lot of them are expensive. You have to be careful you're not being fobbed off and somebody's selling you like a Rep Pro disguised as a real one for a lot of money. And I don't really have anywhere to store it and look after it properly to stop it from deteriorating, because that's what I like about the more modern masks. They're made out of you know, like rubber kind of materials that aren't going to rot away even if they're not kept in ideal circumstances. No, Swiss Army knife thing keeps getting asked in the last couple of streams, and no, the only Swiss Army knife I've got personally. I've got a couple of like rip-off Swiss Army knives as well, but I don't know where they are. I think there might be one or two on that shelf somewhere over there. I've just got the Swiss Army Hiker, that's the only Swiss Army knife I've got. One of my friends has one of the stupidly big ones, but he doesn't even carry it on him because it's too big. But I suppose I do technically have a big Swiss Army knife. And if you're trying to catch me out, because this is a big Swiss Army knife, isn't it? Because it was used by the Swiss Army, and it's technically a knife, so I guess it's a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, I just thought about that because it is technically a Swiss Army knife. Swiss military bayonet from the 50s to about the 80s or the 90s. So yeah, bayonet's a knife, isn't it, technically? It's not got sharp edges on that, it's just a stabbing one. But, no, I don't have an FMJ08. I've got the FMJ05, but I don't have an FMJ08. If you're interested, I've done a video on my entire Chinese gas mask collection, so if you watch that one, you'll see all the Chinese masks I've got. I obviously know the FMJ08 is the S10 sort of copy, or FM12 copy, but sadly every time I've seen those they've been over £100, so I've never bothered buying one. When you say Wall Street crash, which one do you mean? The Great Depression? Or what? Well, as I've probably said before, Slingshot, I've got a Rift. The thing is... Oh no, it's starting up now. Hang on. That's the problem with the Rift, is you get it out and it wants to start. Let me close that. I don't think it's taken over the screen now, has it? The problem with the Rift is, as good as it actually is, and it's quite immersive and everything, there's just not enough games for VR headsets at the moment. Yeah, I mean, like all these sort of things, FLIRs aren't foolproof, are they? Because there's certain ways light can reflect can trick a FLIR, as far as I understand as well. But again, I'd say they're better than light amplification, because the thing is, if you have green NVGs, if you've got a guy wearing camo stood in a bush, he's almost impossible to see, where on a FLIR he's really easy to see. I think every system's going to have drawbacks and pros, but as time goes on I think a lot of systems get better. Yeah, like I said, I ended up holding off on getting VR for a year or two, I think, when the Rift came out, Mike. Then I got the Rift when they did an offer where you could get the Rift and £100 of like store credit for, I think it was like £550 or £600, something like that, when I had a load of spare money. And I thought, why not? And I knew it was a bit of a dumb thing to early adopt technology, because I think now, quite often on Amazon, for £350 you can get the Rift and the touch controllers. You know, it's like 200 odd quid cheaper for a better product. Do you mean like a flail? I'm not sure. There's a flail there on the wall, with like the spiked ball and the chain. I've played Tropico 3, 4 and 5. Oh, I've played some of the older Tropicos as well, but those are ones most other people have played. Tropico 5 I quite like. I tried the beta for Tropico 6 and I couldn't really see anything different enough about it. I really like the Stronghold series. And there's like Kingdom Come Deliverance and everything, isn't there? That's pretty accurate. Mount and Blade isn't too far-fetched, I guess. I know about the FM53, because there was one on eBay at the same time I got my M50 on an auction, but that ended up going to like £200 to £300, so obviously I didn't bid that much on it, but I do know of it, yeah. Yeah, I think the reason it looks like a hatchet, I can probably show you this, is because the handle of it's there. Where the handle of it is next to the metal bit on the sword scabbard, I think that looks kind of like a hatchet from the distance and the quality of the webcam, but as you can probably see, there's the actual flail head. Oh, no point getting agitated on the stream, is there? No, this is pre-Kevlar, it's ballistic nylon. So if you think Kevlar but pretty much inferior in most ways, that's what ballistic nylon is. I've heard ballistic nylon might be a bit better at stopping knife blades, but that might only just be because they had to make it thicker to get the same kind of level of protection. But yeah, Kevlar pretty much completely replaced ballistic nylon in all its uses because they could make the same stuff, you know, lighter and thinner. I have got some of that. But I haven't actually taken any of that today. That MG, I assume you mean the MG of the CBD, not the MG like machine gun. 500 MG. I generally just buy the strongest ones because it means when you vape it, you don't need to vape as much. Because generally, like, the bottles of these only work out like £1 or £2 more expensive when you go up the MGs. But obviously, if you think if you got this in 500 MG and it only costs a couple of quid more than 100 MG size of the same bottle, it's actually technically like 5 times the size because it's 5 times the concentration. If that makes sense. It's pretty effective. I mostly take it because I've got ulcerative colitis, which is an autoimmune disease, and it seems basically, like, for whatever reason, CBD is quite helpful for that, at least in terms of lowering the inflammation a bit. Obviously I'm on prescription medication as well for that, and a lot of it comes down to, I think, both diet, prescription medication and luck. But yeah, the CBD certainly doesn't hurt. It's quite good at calming you down and stuff like that, but like when people talk about CBD as an antidepressant and stuff like that, it's not going to be as effective as stuff like SSRIs or you know, that kind of stuff. So I think while CBD is useful, I think a lot of people hype it up quite a lot. So it's one of those things that's very useful for certain things, or it would help certain conditions, but it's not like you could just take CBD and no other medication for certain issues and you'd be fine. Well, it depends. The MG42 had a very fast fire rate, and you could swap the barrels out easily, which was very good, but it did have a few drawbacks. Yeah, 1,500 MG is probably worth it then, assuming that the price isn't massively inflated. When I bought that particular bottle, 500 MG was the strongest one I could find. It'd be quite interesting as well, Richard, just to see like a mace without spikes on or flanges, because I know some cultures used that, didn't they? Where they just literally had a club with like a round ball on the end. Because I assume somebody swinging a round ball on the end of a pole is still going to do a lot of damage when it hits you. And, you know, you're going to still confirm a hit, aren't you? Anywhere that the ball hits. How do you mean considered them? Like buying and doing videos on them? I have no real use for them, that's the thing. The thing is as well, I imagine if you had a completely round mace, there's no chance it can get stuck in anything. Oh, the Eiffel Tower isn't in the UK, but is that a reference to Command and Conquer Red Alert 2? Because isn't that something you do in the Soviet campaign, if I remember right in that? That sounds interesting, Mike. A flail like a mace, is it going to be on a chain or is it just going to be on a straight, you know, like pole like a mace? Right, let me search that now, Will, thank you. Next time I need to get some more if it works out, you know. I have to verify my age because, you have to be 18 to buy CBD, but I think I'm old enough. Right, enter CBD e-liquids. I don't know if there's a way of... See, I'm not really very interested in what they taste of. I'm just wondering if, which ones they've got that are the really strong ones. I'd probably go for a fruit flavoured one or a mint one, I guess. Anyway, yeah, thanks. I'll bookmark that site and I'll have a look when I'm not on the stream. No, the only Canadian surplus I have is the C3 mask. I don't know that band, but obviously chlorine gas was used in World War One. Yeah, as said, there's a disclaimer there for a reason. Is it in that corner now? Yeah, there it is. If I get my finger pointing roughly at it. Don't discuss anything illegal or dangerous or stupid. So I'll say it as a warning the first time. I've not blocked anyone yet, but don't talk about, oh, how do I make something that's been legally turned into something one way, into something illegal. Right, I've been going for an hour and 6 minutes now, because there's 36 people on. I don't mind going for a bit longer, if people are still watching. I won't go on for too much longer though, because I'm getting up at 7 AM in the morning. Because at one point in history, although Lee Enfield wouldn't fall under that, lots of guns had to be deactivated or destroyed or whatever. So a lot of people would rather have had their guns deactivated than destroyed. No, I don't have a 3D printer. If I did, I'd 3D print gas mask kind of components of it. Yeah, I've played all the Stalker games. No, it's not a Rolex, but you're the first person to notice it. It's an Orient Mako 2. It's the watch I've got for like EDCing now, because obviously being a sort of automatic dive watch, it's pretty strong. Well, you don't need to 3D print one of those converters because they already exist. What would be more interesting is printing the GOS to NATO adapters. I think wearing a Rolex still sort of is a status symbol, Slingshot Warrior, but I wouldn't pay over £5 for a watch. Yeah, the thing was, I was saying in the video I filmed on the watch today, I said this before, here it is. This used to be, this is the watch I've been EDCing for quite a while, and I do like it. It's a Seiko Kinetic, but it's got no bezel on it, and the other issue with it is it has no lume, and that really annoys me, because as soon as you're in a room that's slightly dim, or you're outside at night, you go to look at your watch and you cannot see what the time is. With a proper dive watch, they've obviously got really good lume on it, so you can see what the time is underwater. So I don't know if I flick this light off, if it will be dark enough for the webcam to pick up the lume. Probably not. But if I flick all the lights off, which I'm not going to do, the lume would be quite bright on that. Especially tomorrow when I'm going to have a day of wearing it outside all day, rather than you know, like today where it's obviously been stored in a box for weeks or months or whatever, and I've only opened it today and put it on. Well, I don't know what kind of content you make, Little Lenny, but if you want to shout out, there you go, I've just mentioned you. Well, the good thing of an automatic watch is it's not a battery watch as such. You know, it's a retro kind of watch in that regard. So any wrist movement, arm movement winds the watch. You can wind it with the crown. And I found with watches like this, if you're wearing it daily, you're never going to have to wind them up. You're just going to have to adjust the time every few days to keep it accurate. Yeah, it's a dive watch. It's waterproof to 200 meters. You can probably see on there. It says 200 meters, and you'll be able to see Probably see how thick the case back is if I do that, because you can see obviously it's a pressurized dive watch. It's got a little picture on the crown there, but I don't know if the webcam will make that out. Well, one of my favourite watches, and I still like it, it's just I've complained about it quite a few times, the problem I had with it. I've still got it, let me get it out. Is the Soviet dive watch. The Vostok Amphibia. Now, this is a really good watch for especially how much you can buy them for on eBay. The only problem with Vostoks is that basically, well, the issue I've had with mine is that the rotor, which is the bit that recharges it when you're, you know, while it's on your wrist, you can probably hear if I rattle it, the rotor's come loose. And if I take the case back off, the screw that holds the rotor in is so tiny that even if you buy the smallest, like, miniature screwdrivers you can buy in the UK, like the jeweler's ones, they don't fit it. So I can retighten the screw by hand, but if I retighten the screw by hand, you know, like a week later of wearing the watch, the rotor will fall off again. And yet, I can't speak Russian. So, I do like dive watches, but I thought I'd go for a really kind of decent Japanese one. Because the movement's very good and, you know, it's built to last, really. Right, I'll spend about 3 more minutes on the stream, I reckon. And then we'll see if we get any interesting comments. So, yeah, let's do the finalising bit of the stream then. So if you've got any interesting comments or questions, post them quickly now and I'll try and get through all of them before I finish the stream. I think when my friend draws some merch, I'll definitely have to have one that says I'm a Russian spy or something like that. I'm not going to get it down for this video now, especially because it, you know, it's near the end. But there are videos, like proper videos, filmed with my 1080p camera, not the webcam, which is lower in quality, showing the Lee Enfield properly. Call of Pripyat's my favourite stalker game. If I can get at any of them, because, hang on. Have a bag of gas masks. The PDF I modified to put the hose on it. You can see a cable tie there. It's attaching a hose. Another PDF and a PBF at the very bottom of the bag. Are escaping from the bag now. Look what you've done. No, I haven't played Escape from Tarkov and I don't plan to because of all the pay-to-win elements they put into it. I'm neither a communist or a Democrat. But funnily enough, the video that goes live this Friday is one that talks about my political opinions on certain things. I've seen those extreme cold weather masks that look like weird GIMP masks, if that's what you're on about, Dimmy Pop. Is that the new one that's made by the people who did Dark Souls, From Software, and Demon Souls? I've not played it though. I have no intention of getting the new Metro until it's really cheap on sale. No, the only katana I have is that one, and I've also got a Bokken, which has been in videos before. Well, I'm not into that, am I? So I don't take kindly to those sort of accusations. Right, anyway, I think that will do. Is that like a Soviet survival horror thing? I think I've heard of Atomic Heart, but I don't think I've really looked into it. Anyway, that will sum up the stream. So, if I had the choice between an MP5 or an M15, as in the Polish MP5 or the M15, maybe the Polish MP5 actually. Anyway, that will sum up this stream because I've gone over time again. Thanks for watching, everybody. And as said, if you're interested, there is now merchandise, although there'll be a lot more designs coming out that look better than what's currently on there. In the description, there is now merchandise you can buy. So anyway, yep, see you, goodbye.